Hey, everybody out there in the Bosshole Transformation Nation. Hello, and welcome back to the Bosshole Chronicles. Today, we have a conversation with a previous guest, a very popular guest on the podcast. It's Mike McFall, who's the co-founder of Biggby Coffee. If you're a coffee fan at all and you live anywhere within the Ohio, Michigan area and parts surrounding there, you would be definitely aware of and a fan of Biggby Coffee. Mike talks about leading your organization when the purpose needs to change. So it's a rich conversation. It's a short conversation, but it's chock full of cool insights and tips for leaders who may in fact need to revisit their purpose or their values or their mission as they move ahead, and just really what it takes to do that. So let's dig in.
The Bosshole Chronicles are brought to you by Real Good Ventures, a talent optimization firm helping organizations diagnose their most critical people and execution issues with world-class analytics. Make sure to check out all the resources in the show notes and be sure to follow us and share your feedback. Enjoy today's episode.
Mike, it's great to have you back on the Bosshole Chronicles.
Yeah, great to be here. Thank you.
It's been a couple of years. Yeah. You have been continuing on your mission. There's so much that I liked about our last conversation. And even after that podcast conversation, I got a chance to meet with you personally to just better understand kind of what drives you, what drives this guy who has created and co-created a very successful business. It's focused on the right things. And meanwhile, you're sharing this, the principles and the framework, you're sharing that in a lot of different ways. Why don't I toss it over to you and start wherever it makes sense for you? What have you been up to? What's still resonating for you? What do we need to know that's new and different?
It's been 5 years that we've been transitioning the company to a professional leadership team.
Yeah.
And that's a complicated transition. We had a president that we brought in 6 years ago, and we transitioned that role in February. And so we're in iteration 2.0 on that.
Okay. So a new president.
Yes, a new president. And one of the things that that I learned and that we're continuing to learn is that this function is, in that capacity, a president comes with a particular skill set to do a particular thing. And maybe these roles and these jobs aren't 20-year commitments.
Okay.
Maybe they're 5, 6, 7-year commitments. Or maybe that's just the scenario we were in this time. Who knows? But so we've transitioned to a new leader, and she's amazing. She has a very different focus than John did, and we need that focus right now. And so that's good. But with that came an acknowledgement that the purpose we were working within, the values that we were living within, our vision and our mission, that our current leadership team wanted to play with those and tweak those and do some things with those.
Okay.
It's a really big transition to rework that stuff.
Yeah.
And we've spent the better part of a year doing so. And so that's been interesting, to say the least.
Okay. So before we dig into that, can I ask just a couple questions?
Absolutely.
I'm imagining that the new leader came with the new focus. Like there's something else, there's a different way we need to look at the future. So therefore, a new leader, which, by the way, makes a ton of sense. Iterative leadership based on the strategy, the market, the growth of the organization, whatever it might be. And then you said inside you determined together as a leadership team that was time to revisit the values. Can I just ask, what allowed you all to kind of align around that? Well, how did you know it was time to do that?
I mean, at the beginning of it was, for me anyway, it was sort of a no. It was like, no, like, you don't change the purpose of your organization.
Right.
And then these are very experienced people,
Mm-hmm.
and good leaders, and they just worked me into a position of understanding that our purpose and our vision wasn't having the intent that we wanted it to have on the
Okay.
organization as a whole. And so then that started the conversation of okay, well then, holy moly, what ultimately what does this transition look like?
Mm-hmm.
And we have a woman that really led that for us.
Nice.
And it's been great. And we're actually doing a meeting this Friday where I'm gonna live Q&A, sort of fireside chat, with the woman who's been on this journey and been leading this journey in front of the
Mm-hmm.
whole company, and, I'm looking forward to that.
So it sounds like, it took a little convincing for you, Mike. You were
Oh, totally.
unclear about why this should happen, and you had a great guide through that process. And you listened to the insight and the wisdom of others around you that said, hey, we need what we say we're up to isn't really landing or isn't having the same impact. Wow, that's huge.
Yeah,
And
it's big, and then
yeah,
to do the work, and then
yeah,
to get it to the point where, it is a working piece.
yeah,
It's
that's
a
a lot of
working
work.
piece. Yeah,
That's a
it
lot.
is, and so I'm really proud of it, and I think it's definitely in the very much the same thought space as our
Hmm.
previous one.
Yeah.
It just has a different emphasis that I
Mm.
think will resonate better for people.
Can I just have you kind of dial back to when the team was convincing you or when they were making the case for it? As a co founder, what were the kind of things that you thought about and experienced that kind of were like, heck no, like, no, we don't need to do this. Can you just help us understand, what was this the emotion or the feeling at the time as a co founder of people saying, this doesn't fit us anymore?
Yeah, that's always hard.
Yeah.
It's really a very hard part of what our company is in the middle of right now, and
Mm-hmm.
which is, and I don't think so many entrepreneurs are successful in this transition because it's hard, because people tell you the work you've done isn't
Yeah.
right.
Right.
That the stuff that, is that you think is so important maybe isn't as important as you think it is. And so
Mm.
we are fully committed to transitioning to this company being led by a professional team. And so, yeah, there's a whole bunch of, the ego being put in the back pocket, right? And
Yeah.
acknowledging that the stuff that I worked on, or, Bob and I worked on, that is it's it's old, it's gone, it needs to be it needs to be updated and
Yeah.
cool, right? But we're 30 years old, so that's gonna happen.
Well, and could we just stop for a minute and celebrate what that all did accomplish? Like what those values, what that outline purpose created and made possible then. And yes, things need to evolve and things need to shift. It doesn't sound like there was significant difference or shift, like some things maybe with a
Right.
fine point on them. Is there anything that we can know about that really represents who you are now?
Well, I think, our the former purpose was supporting you and building a life you love.
Hmm. And by the way,
And
folks, this is a coffee company. This is Biggby Coffee. Let's just get our head around the fact that that's a worthwhile purpose. That's amazing. And what is it now?
and we what happened
Yeah.
inside of that purpose was that purpose ended up becoming and feeling very individualized, meaning,
Mm.
sure, like the company was supposed to support you in building a life you love,
Yeah.
and the meaning of that from the beginning was that it was about you as a human being and you exploring what makes you happy, exploring your passions, and getting support from the organization and everyone on your team in doing so.
Yeah.
But again, it felt like an individual exploration. And
Mhm.
so what we've changed it to is Biggby Coffee exists to build communities where people feel connected, valued, uplifted, and inspired. So,
Wow.
but that is what is going to, I believe that if we're highly focused on building communities, it's the community which will support you in building a life you love.
Mm,
And we were missing that step. Like, how do we support you in building a life you love? There was no answer to that question.
sure.
We now have that question, which is we're going to build community.
That's really amazing.
It's cool. I
Sitting over
love
here
it.
going, wow.
Yeah, it's cool. I love it.
Well, and if I think back to, your first book, Grind, was about, how to build a thing, how to build
Yeah.
something entrepreneurial, how to make it happen. Grow, your second book, was kind of about arriving to a place of leadership. So moving from that entrepreneurial spirit and that life cycle of an organization to a more mature, not fully baked, but mature leadership and organization and professional structure. But yet, we can't help but overlook that underneath all of that is this incredible purpose. And the purpose has been enhanced and redefined that fits so well. You have values internally. One of them is a people first culture, really focusing on your people. How do you make that come to life in the day to day? People that work in your organization, how do they know this?
We try to get the basics right first.
Yes.
And, that's I find that stuff pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
And then we try to also do some relatively, you know, I would say exceptional things too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A- and, I think that when I think about the responsibility of an organization, the way I look at it is how would I want an organization to be treating my niece or my
Mm.
child?
Yeah.
And what's their interaction with the organization, and
Yeah.
how does the organization treat them? And so, and then we've really leaned very hard into building some stuff that is opportunities for people to engage that they can't get, I don't think, anywhere else. And that's the sort of extreme version. So
Mm.
you got to get the basics right. And then we built this whole curriculum around the supporting you and building a life you love, and the
Mm.
pillars around that. And it's really a beautiful set of classes that have been created.
Mm-hmm.
We now are in this place of we need to have a thread through to that content. And we've realized that this content is fairly extreme in the world, and
Yeah.
that's good. It's great, and it has a lot of value. But we need to figure out how to onboard people into that environment, and so we're in the midst of all of that. But I think that rewriting our values was a really important thing too, because we
Mm-hmm.
emphasize stuff that weren't in the values before that we think are important. And one of those is elevate every day,
Mm.
because if we're focused on building community in an effort to support you in building a life you love, and we're pouring a lot into that, there's reciprocity in that, and we need you growing and elevating every day, right?
Yeah.
Like, you need to be committed to that, and if you're not, then you're probably not a good fit for this organization.
Right. Oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. Um, I'm thinking about all the organizations I know that are feverishly chasing the growth in the market, and they've just, and any other set of goals that seem easy to measure that we all tend to chase, and they've overlooked that internal core and very clearly identifying it, establishing it, sharing it, and welcoming people into it and then living it,
Yeah,
which is what I know you've spent really the bulk of your time. Well, you do other
trying,
things
yeah.
too. You travel, you speak, you're a professor of entrepreneurship, aren't you, at U of M? Uh,
Yeah, I took a year hiatus from that, but
okay.
and I think what I have a keynote that I've developed that I love to deliver, which is it's about unlocking people's superpowers
Yes.
and creating superheroes.
Mhm.
And when you have a team of superheroes showing up to work every day, the possibility of what they can do is limitless, right?
Well,
And
yeah.
that's yeah. And I've created, there's three areas of emphasis. One is, I call it stone soup, which is
Hmm.
you are the magic ingredient for your team as the leader. Like
Nice.
you are the stone in the
Yes.
stone soup, right?
Okay.
And then the second one is building tree forts, right?
Hmm.
Like this concept that when you were a kid, you used to love going and playing in a tree fort with all of your friends, and you would all be, and it was like magical. And that's the environment we need to create inside of our organizations, that people are showing up to work feeling that level of excitement and intimacy to be there with their team, and everybody else showing up as their as a superhero. And then the third element of the talk is colonizing Mars, and that is,
Hmm.
you need to have a really powerful purpose in the world for people to connect with, and so that they know that when they show up to work and they give it their best, that it isn't just about making a profitable widget. You're actually doing something powerful and impactful in the world. And what is that? And as the leader, you have to define that and make that uh, omnipresent.
That makes so much sense to me. And I have to ask this, Mike, in our current dynamics, in what appears to be a very polarized world, more so than probably ever before in my lifetime, or at least that's what we've been made to believe, is that, we're all separate and we think very differently. And there is a an inordinate amount of stress that people are feeling. We can look at the data and it would tell us that since the pandemic, some of us have had a hard time recovering emotionally and mentally. So there's risk of burnout. There's all this stuff going on. In your experience, do the values and what you're creating internally help stave off, the stress for your people? Does it make a difference? And can we live in a world like we live in and still come to work and go, I love this place, I love this job, I love this purpose?
I think so. I hope
Mm.
so, because I think that the answer to so much of what's happening in the world today is community.
Mm.
And, when I look at the statistics around loneliness, and I look at the statistics around depression, and that the numbers are staggering. And then when you look at the numbers of sub 30-year-olds, it's
Yep.
even worse.
Yes. Yeah.
That scares the willies out of me, right? And
Mhm.
so what I am really focused on, and I think community solves that. If we can build communities and have people connect inside of a community with people that they care about, and then they learn how to spend time together, and they do
Mhm.
things, inside of that community. Yeah, I feel like that is a really important answer to uh, what's happening in the world today. So,
Oh, yeah.
and in somehow, some way, we have to learn to love people that we don't agree with. It,
Mhm.
it's not it's not that hard, you
Right.
know. And without disclosing so much about my politics, but when I released my book, I ended up doing a radio interview with a very, very conservative talk show host, and it was syndicated nationally. And the guy was a big deal and very smart,
Mm. Yeah.
and I went in, and I walked in, and it was really, really conservative, and that's not my thing, and
Mhm.
so I was a little put off at first, and I sat in this interview, and I engaged with him, and it ended up being a top 3 interview I've ever done.
Wow.
Right? It was just incredible,
Yes.
and then he invited me. He said, "Hey, do you wanna stick around and listen to the rest of the show?" And so I hung out in the booth live with
Yeah.
him for 2 hours, and then he and I had lunch together, that day, and then we ended up getting together multiple occasions. And what we realized was, and I remember, he had this breakthrough moment, which caused me to have a breakthrough moment, which was, he looked at me and he said, "Mike, you and I are different." He said, "But we all want the same things."
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, and it was this really cool moment. Like,
Mhm.
I went into that thinking a certain, I had a certain idea of of what he was. And, and I
Mm-hmm.
was so wrong, right? I was just
Yes.
so wrong. I mean, he's a very caring, very smart, very committed. He just approaches the world a little bit differently than I do.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
and it doesn't make it wrong. But see, in community, you can reach those moments
Yeah.
if you're actually sunk into a community with people. And
Gosh,
that's what one of the things we're trying to bring.
I hope CEOs and leaders are listening and recognizing there's a little roadmap here. There are some steps you can take, and they might play out a little bit differently than they have for you and your organization, Mike, but they're the right steps. And look what they make available. That's what I think is so astounding to me. I have to ask this question. There's a saying out there in the world of like coaching and therapy, like, hey, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Like, it doesn't really matter who you work with. It matters that you're ready to take that next step. And so I'm curious, in your case, when it was time to be led through a process, did you arrive at the place first that said, yeah, it's good, we're going to do this? And then you had a person to help you? Or did you have the person and then decide, you know what, it's time? How did that work?
I think we all need to live in a space or try to live in a space
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, that we are open to new possibilities and different ways of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you live that way, so many CEOs, so many leaders, honest to goodness, think they have the answer.
Yep. Or they think they have
They-
to. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And what I'm learning as I grow is that so many times my answer is not the right answer.
Mm.
And it's not my job to have the right answer, right?
Nice.
It's my job to facilitate an environment that's collaborative with people bringing their best, and that group will end up at the right answer. So,
Mm.
that to me, that's just, I used to just think that I knew the answer to everything, and
Mm-hmm.
that was into my 40s,
Right.
like I was still like really, and so I think that, and I do believe that the world presents you opportunities that you just need to be open to them and understand what is a true opportunity for you in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you see that opportunity, it is about taking it and absolutely working it,
Like giving it
whatever
giving
that
it your
opportunity.
all.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and like and really leaning into whatever that opportunity is, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, sensing what an opportunity is and then grabbing it once it's present is just critical. So, I don't know if the teacher shows up when you need it. I think that's probably I think I agree with that. Like
Mm-hmm.
presents you the opportunity to learn when when you're ready for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Such great insights for anybody who's, struggling with how do I be a better leader? How do I show up for my team in a way that is impactful and is going to take us into the future? Mike, is as we kind of head into our home stretch here, what are you up to these days? Like, what are your favorite things that you're doing? I know you're in the Life Lab there at Biggby Coffee.
Yeah.
Anything about
Well,
that?
yeah, no, that's we've hit pause on Life Lab for now.
Okay.
It will come back as a curriculum that we're creating. I talked about that thread,
Yes.
from reality to this curriculum. We've got to build that out some more. But what I'm excited about right now is I mean, if I'm excluding my family stuff, there's a
Hmm.
lot going on there that I'm very excited about. But
Yeah.
professionally, uh, I have an opportunity to work with the NHL to create I hope, a healthier product for youth hockey players. The
Mm,
concept in its broadest term is I want to make house league cool again.
nice. Okay.
And yeah, and so I'm in sports. I've been an athlete my whole life, and I just think youth athletics is a hot mess, right? And
Mm,
we have all of these kids that are, you know every kid plays on a travel team, and every kid is like, turned into a professional athlete at 9 years old,
Yeah, it's true.
and I just find it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So part of building community is giving kids a healthy environment for them to engage athletics. So I'm super excited about that opportunity. I've been
Love
meeting
this.
for about a year. And I'm not sure where that's going to end up. And then the second thing that I'm excited about is the creation of a leadership retreat center. So I've got that property purchased. I've hired someone to manage it. We are developing a curriculum that we're going to be engaging the world with, and that'll start to ramp up probably mid next year. We've been doing some things there, but that'll be mid next year. And then
Nice.
I would be remiss if I didn't say that I'm not excited about what's going on at our business. I mean, it is growing. It's unbelievable to watch the growth that's occurring inside of Biggby. I mean,
Yeah.
really, truly remarkable.
And I don't even remember what the number was when we talked last. That was a couple of years ago. What are we up to now? How many?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've got 440 stores.
Yeah, 300,
440.
440. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
440-ish open right now, and building a lot of them. But
Yeah.
probably the most exciting thing is our comparative sales, our year-over-year sales for stores that have been open at least a year is very healthy, and like that is that's beautiful. Like
It is beautiful.
And so we've got a lot of really positive things going on inside the business, and then like the leadership team is focused on the right things, doing the right things. I mean, they're doing it, and it's amazing to watch, frankly. It really is.
Well, I want to just say to the people that are listening, this could be you too. This growth and this clarity and the environment that you're able to cultivate for your people, this could be you too. If it isn't now, don't panic. There are people who are showing us how to do it every day. Mike, you're one of them. This is
Well,
so
thank you.
great. And I know, I can't remember, you have a whole mess of kids, if I remember. Like
Yeah, 4 of them.
4 kiddos, and they're a little bit older now, but they're probably in the thick of it too. They're playing their sports and doing their stuff.
Yeah. I've got a 19-year-old and an 18-year-old, and I've got an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Oh,
So
yeah, that's right.
yeah, but they still have the little ones. Yeah, they're banging away. It's amazing. It's amazing to
Oh,
watch.
well, it is just such a delight. I am so glad that we got to reconnect, and I'm so glad to continue to share what you're up to with our listeners
Yeah, thank you.
because it's really powerful, and I'll be tracking you down again.
All right, anytime. I love it.
Yeah, when the next book comes out or when you rewrite a different whatever you're doing, we'll be following. And Mike, we wish you the very best. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. We'll see you next time on the Bosshole Chronicles.
Thanks very much for checking out this episode of the Bosshole Chronicles. It was so good to have you here. And if you have your own Bosshole story that you want to share with the Bosshole Transformation Nation, just reach out. You can email us at mystory@thebossholechronicles.com. Again, mystory@thebossholechronicles.com. We'll see you next time.